25 straight years dancing for Michigan State under Tom Izzo. We got to talk about that. And then also, well, the game itself, MSU versus USC. What is to come this March? It's not just me blabbing all episode 2. We got Dave Klein of SpartanHoops.com. Let's have a party. Woo!
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you so much for kicking off your day with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white, 5 days a week. And what a joyous day, really, for the whole state. I mean, for March, you have representation from the state of Michigan in the NCAA tournament. You have representation in the NIT. You have representation in the CBI. Basketball runs through the state, DK, but we're here to talk about the NCAA tournament team, your Michigan State Spartans. Let's get a vibe check, DK. How we doing?
Good. I mean, the bracket was unveiling. We were in that group chat together, and we're kind of all just holding our breaths and hoping to maybe dodge a couple of the bullets that could have been waiting for us on the 2 seed. And I think initial gut reaction is I'm not sure in terms of location, timing, and just general bracket if Michigan State has gotten a better path in a while, at least from where they currently stand seed-wise. I think that there's a decent chance they could make a run. So
even if you were like a 3 seed, like you would have nothing to complain about with the time, the location. You are playing a West Coast team at 9:15 a.m. to their bodies. Michigan State tips off at 12:15 Eastern time, but hey, USC, that's going to be, well, on the body clock's an early game for them. So yeah, it really feels like
Columbus, so you know the crowd's going to show out as well.
Right, yeah. I know. Now, I got to say, I do have a bone to pick about Madison Square Garden. I know that I'm supposed to be happy that it's New York. It's the shortest place as far as the regional goes. But I'm counting my chickens before they hatch. All right, maybe we should focus on round 1 and round 2 before Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Or 2, like maybe all this Madison Square Garden stuff is just overblown anyway. And Michigan State is just due to win there. Who's to say? But DK, really quick, I want to just start the conversation, the bulk of this conversation, on Tom Izzo going 25 straight years in the tournament. That's a record that no coach in the country has ever met before. How big is that for a program? Is this something that us state fans overlook, or is it really even more than just a trivial number, in your opinion?
No, I mean, I think it's incredible. It's a testament to the staying power that he's had in this last, 3 years, because I think you can probably throw in, portions of this year have been tough from our fan base perspective. We haven't been living to the standards that we're used to meeting, fighting yourself in a top 4 seed line, fighting yourself really competing for a Big Ten title. And that hasn't been the case the last 3 years. So despite all that, I think that when you look from a bigger picture and you can kind of just get out of this little cycle that they've been in, it's been pretty damn good to be a Spartan fan since Tom Izzo has taken over the job. And so maybe just have some appreciation for it while also, wanting him to reach the standards that he himself set again.
I need to remind myself of that sometimes, namely after my meltdown after Friday's game against Ohio State. We'll get to that in a little bit, but it is reassuring to know, like, just exactly how great we have it here. Not good, not how good we have it here, how great we have it here. Because even in the worst years under Izzo, yes, he missed the tournament his first few years on the job. Okay, we're going to give him that. But once he got the wheels turning, they haven't stopped. And like, even in the worst years, a year where you don't have the greatest roster, a roster with no NBA players, like, you're still scratching and clawing yourself to a NCAA tournament. And look, you can look around the Big Ten, and this could be trolling, but it's just honest. Like, okay, the school down the road, NBA talent, first team all, or former All-American or whatever he was, first team all Big Ten for sure, and like, they're not in the tournament. So, I mean, they're just the most convenient example to use, but even in the bad years for Michigan State, like, we're still getting to the tournament. So it's just really a testament to, like Izzo said, speaking to the media today, people have bought into this program, and it is really touching to see people buy into this program from his point of view. So it's been a nice selection Sunday here, DK. It's been nice.
I'm just glad we got to experience it,
I know. It's nice. A shame if you weren't able to, really. A shame. especially with expectations, top 25 team. But MSU was not that. MSU was right outside the top 25 going into the season, and the committee came out with their rankings after the show, of course. And Michigan State, the 26th team. Is it just like I find it a little humorous that, okay, this year actually just ended the way that the experts thought that it would. I know that, hey, I've had my manic episodes. I've lost it on this team. I've also thought like, oh my God, we're going to Houston. But when the cream settled, like, okay, this team was always kind of who they were expected to be. Fair or foul? Do you think that 26 ranking is good?
Fair,
for them?
100%.
Okay.
I think I had them somewhere between the top 25 and 30 kind of coming into this season. We saw some of the strides that, we wanted to see from parts of the backcourt. Obviously, Tyson Walker has had long stretches where he's been really good. AJ's been a little up and down in spots. And I guess when we get to Friday, we can talk about that. And then, Jaden Akins has kind of taken some big steps towards the end of this year too. Joey Hauser, steady as can be. I think just ultimately we knew as a fan base, you were circling that center spot as the point that you're most concerned about. And unfortunately, those concerns really didn't end up ever going away. And the result of it was a team that was not quite as competitive as you'd like to see in some of those games that they needed to be to, come out with the Big Ten title this year.
Now, as far as that goes, the lack of center position for Michigan State. What were your thoughts going into the selection show? Were you like me and you're just saying, okay, anyone but Arizona because they have, just two trees that get work done for them? Or what were you kind of feeling here going into the big night here?
Yeah, that was exactly right. Arizona, I've watched a few times this year. I just think that would be an absolute nightmare matchup. They got 2 7-footers, both who are talented and very skilled. I think that we've gotten filleted inside. So that one was one I was circling. And I watched some of that Texas-Kansas for the Big 12 championship. And frankly, that was in the same boat where wanted no piece of Texas. They kind of overcame that midseason coaching change, and they've really done a nice job just generally kind of getting over that hump, and they're playing really good basketball right now. So those were the two teams I really didn't want to see. And as soon as they kind of came up that way, then you're just praying that they're actually on a 7 line, not an 8-9. Purdue was the last one. And so I just said, I'd really be surprised if we're in that 8-9 game for them.
Yeah.
And boom, we kind of got, what you want. I think maybe, I guess you could have gone Boise State, say maybe that would have been a slightly better matchup. But if you look at it, I think that they have the weaker 2 seed. They have one of the weaker 10 seeds. And just generally the 4 and the 5 aren't anything that's like terribly scary either. So there's a path there. And I guess maybe we can get to Friday, because if they play anywhere like that Friday, it doesn't matter who's in front of them, because it's going to be an auto L there.
We are going to get to last Friday. We're going to get to this upcoming Friday. And really, we are doing the funniest, objectively the funniest thing that we get to do every single March. And that is talk about, hey, how can we make it into the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, even though our team just looked like horse crap on Friday. It's as if it never happened to us. But you know what? March just gets that going inside the brain. We're going to talk more about that. But DK, I'm so sorry. I got to talk to people's ear off about Built Bar right now. That's right, Built Bar, the world's best tasting protein bar in the land, gang. Right here in front of me on the ad copy, it says, hey, say it tastes as good as a candy bar. But since I care about you, I'm going to be honest with you. It tastes even better than a candy bar. We're talking flavors like churro puff, peanut butter brownie, double chocolate brownie. There's all sorts of flavors that you are going to love. And also, these feel good on the body. We're talking most of these Built Bars, 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, but a whopping 17 grams of protein. You're not going to feel weighed down, all bogged up. No, you're going to feel energized. And also, Built Bar is making it easier because, hey, you can plan a 12-month subscription for Built to send Built Bars to your house every month. That's right. You got to try Built, and the best protein bar in the land. Gang, go to Built.com. Set up your subscription. They will come to your doorstep. Run to BuiltMarchMadness.com right now and vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. Built.com to stock up on your Built Bars. All right, DK, which Friday do you want to talk about?
I hope they're paying you a ton of money. Those ad reads are so great, man.
I sold you on that?
110%.
Okay. That's good. Appreciate that. I'll slide you a little bit as well here on the side for the encouragement. Appreciate you, man. What Friday do you want to start talking about? Do you want to talk about the upcoming Friday against USC, or do you want to talk about the Friday that a lot of us would like to forget.
Yeah, I think we start with the bad and then get to the good.
I like that idea
Let's
too.
start with the
Yeah.
bad and then just turn the page on it. Because
Let's have a
Friday,
reality
I
check.
think,
A
was
reality check for ourselves. Yeah. Right.
I think it was an absolute disaster, right? I mean,
Yep.
you come out, you
Yeah.
got the double bye, you kind of get the team that you probably wanted to see. Then Sensabaugh is out for the game with knee soreness. And you think to yourself, oh, wow, they're going to win a game here, maybe give Purdue all they can, and maybe they
Yep.
can move themselves up a couple, a seed line or so. And that is not what we got. We got, unfortunately, the not so good version of AJ Hogard, and everybody kind of followed suit. They didn't look like they wanted to be there, to be honest with you. And I think that was maybe the most alarming thing, that the sense of urgency between the staff as well as the players on the floor was just bad. He was coaching that game. I saw somebody post, I think it was Travis Mulhauser, and he said he coached that game like it was December, and I couldn't agree more. The rotations,
Oh, wow.
the subbing, like it was a December game where he didn't care if he won or lost, but this is single elimination game time. And that was maybe the most surprising thing. There were some lessons being taught in March with possibly just 2 games left on the schedule, and you're in the middle of one. So that was maybe a little bit of like a reality check, as you said, for the Spartan fans.
And like I had people comment on YouTube or Twitter, whatever, and I think the majority of us were very upset at that game. But there was a minority being like, "Oh my God, you guys are irrational. Get over it. It's just one game." And look, we've seen losses all the time. Like we've been sports fans forever. It is how they lost that game that drove me up a wall. You said it perfectly. Like we're teaching lessons during a single elimination tournament in March right now. Like this isn't the Bahamas Bonanza or whatever's going on like in November. Like it is crunch time. And yeah, it's just the whole exchange between Izzo and Hogard on the bench where AJ looked like he would rather be anywhere else in the entire world. Izzo's just red in the face. And we've seen Izzo yell at players. That happens every single game, but like that interaction just seemed different. I don't know. Like, am I ready to talk myself into that? Hey, a good version of this team's going to show up Friday, or are you even a little concerned about that going into this Friday for March Madness?
Yeah, I have no idea what we're going to get. And I don't think that we've really known that for most of this season. So
Yeah,
to
fair. That's
me,
fair.
I think that what we saw on Friday was the bottom falling out, which we've seen in some spots, but not so much recently. And
Yeah.
then, the last 4 games, we really got to see kind of the ceiling of what the offense looks like when it's humming all together. Where does the answer lie? Somewhere in between. But the problem is this season, it either goes really well,
Yeah.
for the game, or it goes kind of really poorly from the get-go and not so much recovery. I mean, I guess the Nebraska game, they have the first half where they just completely crap the bed. In the second half, they played well, but that's Nebraska. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Sure.
against quality teams, they haven't been able to finish in the second half. So I think that that's probably the biggest concern, but they got to go back and they just got to find a little mojo again. Just have a couple shots go down early on this one coming up, and if it does, I think that the switch can be flipped. But I just don't know, what team is going to show up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and we were well on our way to have another game like that where they looked really bad in the first half and then strong in the second half. Like they cut it to 2 points against Ohio State, and just like you said, like okay, it's wacky tacky lineup time. Like hey, this was working. All right, let's get Traywon into the game right now. Let's get Kohler into the game. Let's muck it up. Let's get nuts. It's like in March we're doing this. In March we're doing this. Why?
The thing is, you cut it to 2 and they called a timeout, so your starter's got a break. And I said that in my post-game Twitter video, but it was just like, to me, it was like you cut into it. Everybody's playing well. Just keep those guys on the floor for another 2 or 3 minute segment and see if you can get over the hump. Because if you can change the score and take back the lead, then the game has a different feel. But they bring in Kohler and Hall. Kohler misses that layup to tie it, and it goes down for a 3, and they never look back. I think they hit back-to-back threes after that. They pushed it out to 8, and then they were off to the races, and Michigan State looked discombobulated. I thought the rotations were bad. They've been pretty good lately. We haven't had much to complain about the rotations this season in general, and that was just I don't know. That was not good.
Hopefully he just got out of him. Like, all right, I'm just going to do this once this postseason. We'll make it the Ohio State game, but whatever. Let's move on to this Friday. All right, before I spiral out of control and write Michigan State losing immediately in my bracket before I lose any faith. How do you like the matchup with USC? Obviously, you know, we still both have to do like very deep dives, but just on surface, okay, this USC team, pretty solid team. Okay, you're a solid team if you just make the tournament. That goes without saying, but they have won 5 of their 7 games. And in 5 of those wins, they've held their opponents to under 70 points. However, this stat, we will like teams take 22.5 threes against them. They're just okay shooting the 3-point ball themselves. They shoot at 34.5%. That's right in the middle of the nation. And as Izzo did Izzo point this out, or did we just point this out, that they're terrible at rebounding the ball? They just don't care for rebounding the ball whatsoever over in Trojan country. I mean, so that's the long short of the
328th out of 300 and
that's not good.
61 or 63, something like that. Yeah,
that's not that good. That's not that good. So there you have it. Their big man, Drew Peterson, he's the main guy, 6'9", still a little undersized, but he's been dealing with back injuries. So even on paper, maybe this is a matchup you don't hate. I'm trying to say a lot without like really getting ahead of my skis here and chalking up like, okay, Marquette in round 2, you know?
Yeah, so Peterson's a little bit more of like a wing type. He kind of plays like a shooting guard role, so he's more of a spot up shooter.
Gotcha.
Boogie Ellis played 2 years at Memphis and then transferred last year. He's the guy that really you're circling. I think he's capable of putting up 25, 30 points in a game if he gets hot. So he's one of those guys where he's taking jumpers off the dribble, pretty dynamic. Not really a pass first guy. He's more of a score first guy. So containing him really, I think, will be the key. If you can kind of shut off the water on those two, the rest of the shooting for the roster isn't great. They don't have like a true low block scoring big man. The guys that they have are more kind of Matty Sissoko types where they're rim runners and they're catching stuff on the lob. The big man that they have who's 7'1" is a bit of a shot blocker, had a back injury, and he didn't play their last game in the Pac-12 tournament. So I don't know what his status is going to be. He doesn't play a ton of minutes. I think he's averaging 14 a game, but he's a guy that's potentially a bit of a rim protector. Their block percentage is pretty high. And I've just watched like a couple Matthew Love's ball games, so those quick cut-ups. To me, they just have like decent positional size, but I don't know if any of them are like great defensively. Like this is a good, not great defensive team, kind of like Michigan State.
Sure.
So I think that this is a scenario if Michigan State can come out, hit a couple threes, I think that they can loosen it up a little bit. They play drop coverage, which means the big sags to the middle, and they're more inclined to go under screens. So a guy like Tyson really needs to make sure he makes him pay for that. He can't hesitate there. Pull back from the 3, knock down a couple. I think it could change some of the outlook. But all around, I think this is a pretty decent matchup. They were very bubbly till the end of the season, so they kind of snuck in late. And this is a scenario where I think if Michigan State brings their A game, they can beat USC comfortably. But does that happen? I don't know. We'll see.
That's the $1 million question. FanDuel right now has this at a 1.5 point spread, favoring Michigan State. That's what the line opened up at. And I'm sorry, DK, I got to send you to the bench one more time because I got to talk people's ear off about FanDuel. That's right. America's #1 sports book, the best in the land. And it's also the best time of the year to get in on the action. What better time to wager on some basketball entertainment than March Madness? And hey, if you're a new customer to FanDuel, well, it only gets sweeter for you. You get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right. That is back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use, and best of all, you get paid by Mr. FanDuel rapidly. That's right. You are not sitting there for days at a time waiting for the money to hit your account. Mr. FanDuel is lining your pockets as fast as he possibly can, and let me tell you, it's fast. Gang, you could bet on everything from money line, point scores, 3-pointers drained. You could do it all at FanDuel, and they also let you combine your bets for a chance to win a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So do not miss your chance on the no sweat first bet for up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And oh my God, DK is still here. He is still here. This is amazing.
I'm still here, baby.
Man? This is amazing.
I'm good, dude. I'm just looking at some more numbers for USC. I'm still kind of peeking around there. So,
anything stick out to you that you didn't hit on in the first
round? No, sorry.
No, you're fine. Talk me off this take right now. And this is what you just did was great. Numbers, analytic based, also the eye test for sure. And I'm going to come at you with a take. that cuts against all of that. Just vibes is what this is off of. I feel like Malik Hall's entire career has been like one bad game, one good game, two bad games, one really good game. I think he's going to go off on Friday. Friday against Ohio State was maybe the worst game I've seen him play this year. I think he's due for a great game against USC. Agree or disagree? Are you going to stroke my ego here?
I love the positivity.
Okay,
That was tough. Like you said, I think
it was horrible.
I think that was maybe the worst game that he's had in
Yeah.
an MSU uniform. Could have been his second to last game of his entire career. We don't know what the future holds. Obviously, is he possibly return or not? But to me, I just want to see the urgency ramped up for everyone, and he's at the forefront of that, because when Michigan State is at their best, he's usually playing pretty well. And he had a stretch kind of at the end of the season where he played well, but Friday was not, unfortunately, was not a great outing for him. So,
no, but hey, we're due for greatness. So there you have it. So amongst other players that have to have big games on Friday, you talk about Tyson Walker. Do you think that this is a good game for Mr. Hauser to light it up as well with the whole falling under the screen action?
Yeah, so from what I saw, they kind of play more of a traditional four-man that doesn't shoot. So
Okay.
I think Hauser's going to have the ability to maybe stretch him out a little bigger bodies. I don't know what the low post game is going to look like for him, but I think that we can maybe draw him away from the basket. I guess what you like about it is if you can shut off the water from the perimeter on the two guards, they really don't have a ton of shooting elsewhere. So I think Michigan State's, counter and kind of what we saw to end the season is if they can bang down some threes early and they get some guys in rhythm, they're just going to be a really, really tough out. And, you got to hope that AJ's locked in from the very tip. He's stirring the drink early, get some guys some open looks, see a one or two go down. And then I think that the water could just, pour all over. So I would like to see it again. It was fun the way it ended.
Yeah.
And it was not fun Friday. So.
Not quite. No, not necessarily. Do we want to do the worst thing in the entire world right now and start like looking for a potential second round matchup? Like, do we even want to talk about Marquette right now, or is that just a terrible idea?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should get our skis in front of us. Like you said, the spread is right there, basically at a pick 'em almost. It's going to be a 1 to 2 point spread. So I don't think that we can, 100% say that this is, mired in reality. It's a possibility, right? And I think that they can go out and win Friday if they play well.
That's a good way to set
let's
it up.
touch on Marquette a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good way to set it up. Yeah, Marquette, top 10 offensive efficiency team, winners of 9 straight in a row. They, of course, won the Big East tournament. They absolutely barnstormed the championship game. They've only lost twice since the calendar has flipped to 2023, and both have been on the road against UConn and Xavier. So, yeah, this is a hot team. But I guess the question is, like, how much do you believe in the Big East versus other conferences? And then also, well, okay, in that case, like, how much do you believe in the Big Ten to get you iron forged for this March Madness run? So there's a lot to ask yourself as a person as you look to a potential round 2 matchup. But amongst the 2 seeds, most favorable, probably, right?
I would say so. Yeah, this was the matchup. That or maybe UCLA, just because they've suffered a couple injuries. Their second leading scorer and best defender went out, and their big man had some shoulder trouble. They're not sure if he's going to play. So maybe that was one that you'd look at and say that maybe they have an advantage if those guys, or if Bona ends up continuing to be out. But I think that this is, a decent team. They want to play fast, which I think, Michigan State is okay with playing that style of basketball. We saw in the Iowa game when it was up and down, Michigan State could hang in that. And maybe that's our more preferred when it gets slogged down in the half court like it did this past Friday. OSU really took the air out of the ball, and I think Michigan State has really struggled in the half court for large parts of the season to really manufacture stuff. So I think you'd prefer to play a faster pace. They're not overly a great rebounding team, which again, I think that's something that, you want to see, particularly with the way Michigan State struggled on that side. They don't turn the ball over, but Michigan State doesn't really force turnovers anyway. And again, they're not like overall great defensively. They don't have an inside presence of a guy that's just going to really put you in the blender down there. I think that that's advantage Michigan State in that regard. If they're not seeing a guy that you're worried about scoring 18, 20 a night, I think that, you feel a little bit better about Maddie maybe able to contain some of that. And so if you're going to have an offensive shootout against a good team in a good conference, I think that this is probably the one you have. I'm not sure there's any NBA athletes out there on the floor. I think this is
Gotcha.
a really solid and well-coached team, and Shaka Smart has shown the ability to go on a run.
Oh yeah.
But I also don't think he's made the second weekend outside of that run with VCU. I'd have to double check on that, but I thought he had not. So it's one of those circumstances where, you'd hope that the coaching edge would be there. It's a quick turnaround, and Izzo always seems to, have a really good scout with stuff. He's pretty relentless with that. I think the staff has done a really nice job over the years with those quick scouts. And I think it's a situation where you at least like the matchup reasonably so if Michigan State can advance from Friday.
There we go, man. DK just taking us all to MSU basketball church. You're the best, DK. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate you. And just one more vibe check as we go. Did this conversation help or hurt you? How you feel about Michigan State going forward?
It's a great question. You know
Thank
what?
you.
I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. I'd like to believe that we saw the worst of what we'd see the rest of March from this team. We haven't seen very many teams look apathetic when it comes down to the NCAA tournament, and that's what we saw this past Friday. So even the last two teams that we had, that group gave everything that Duke could possibly handle, and then they got beat by, the top NBA draft pick in Paolo Banchero. What are you going to do about that? He's just a
Correct.
grown man going through Joey Hauser, not really anything you can do. And then 2 years ago, they're up by double digits on UCLA going into the half. So, and then UCLA ends up going on that Final Four run. So I
Yeah.
think that this team will be ready and will play much better than what we saw. So I'm going to take the optimistic side of it and say I'm trying to send some good vibes out for this team and for the general fan base. I think it's going to be better. It's definitely
Love it.
can't get much worse. So
Love it. That's the spirit. Absolutely love it. Well, hey, no one better to send you into March Madness week than with DK of SpartanHoops.com. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Really do appreciate you. Gang, we'll be back the rest of the week. We're going to be talking about Friday's matchup. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's March Madness for crying out loud. You know where to find us. Locked on Spartans, 5 days a week. Love you all. Go green. Let's go.